to cure all ills.
I want to talk, we did the humor hymn this morning, and Art loves that one. So I have a question, though, to ask you. We're going to laugh a little bit at ourselves this morning. So everybody got a flower. How did that make you feel when you were handed that flower?
Good.
Made you feel good?
Happy!
I got a pink one, I wasn't too happy.
Okay.
I had to trade it in. I had to trade it in first.
Awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for being honest. And from Terry, too. I mean, would it have been a little bit better if you would have got a pink carnation from a woman? Would have that been a little bit
No,
better?
I think I need to change my shirt. I wear this shirt.
Okay, how about did everybody get the one that they liked? Did anybody look at another color and say, ooh, that's neat, I wish I would have got that one?
No.
No? Everybody kind of likes what they got?
I wondered what the special occasion was.
You're going to find out.
Mother's Day, isn't it?
Well, it's not Mother's Day.
It's for you today.
Okay, so there was different reactions to that, to getting the flower. Okay, people felt good. Men feel uncomfortable maybe getting it from another man or something like that. Okay. But think about that. If that was coming into the church, think about that if that was out on the street too. That might be a little bit different too. It's getting a pink carnation from another man, or whatever. So it's interesting, and I talked a little bit about we're initiating the Kindness Week. So I was doing some research on kindness and different things that they did, and I came up with a very, very interesting article, and it was called "Random Acts of Kindness: A Teaching Tool for Positive Deviance." And it was written by a North Carolina State University professor who taught sociology. And the sociology that she taught was on deviance and the stigma and everything, behavior, as far as behavior and deviance of normal behavior. Now, to explain, behavior is like on a bell curve, and the normal behavior is up here, and then you have the negative deviance, over here on this side as far as the negative deviance, and then you have positive deviance, which is over on this side. People like Mother Teresa, who does, just is saintly. That's actually positive deviant behavior because not everybody does that. Random acts of kindness or acts of kindness actually are on that side that's going down the bell curve and considered positive deviance. And the first thing that struck me as, isn't that sad that acts of kindness actually are so rare that it's considered deviant. It's deviant behavior because it's off the norm. So that's number one to think about. So, she figured, okay, how can I, in my classroom, have people think about deviant behavior or have people experience how it feels, all the different things. So she thought, what, I'm going to have them have an assignment that they have to do random acts of kindness. So the assignment was throughout the semester, they had to do 12 acts of kindness, random acts of kindness, 6 the first half, 6 the second half, and they had to keep a journal about it. They had to keep a journal of what they did, why they chose that, how they felt about it, how the person reacted, and why they think that happened, why they felt that way, why the person reacted, things like that, and why they chose that act. So I had very, very many awarenesses as I read this article. The first, they started doing their acts of kindness, and she had a discussion on how it was going. And some of them shared the acts of kindness that they did, but it was interesting because most of them, it was for friends and family. Like they would wash their mother's car. And they talked about that. Why are you doing that? So why do you think they started with their friends and family? Comfort. It was actually uncomfortable to do acts of kindness for somebody else. So they had to do acts of kindness for people that they knew to feel comfortable. And of course, when they washed their car for their mom or whatever, what do you think happened? What are you trying to get? What do you want? Right? The reaction to it was, oh, you're doing this for a reason. You're trying to get something out of it. So, we as parents also, we look at that and right away way of questioning the behavior. Why are they doing that behavior? They said, and another thing is the kids argued that it really was a random act of kindness because they never would have done it so, without having the assignment. Which again makes you think, what's going on here that, kids don't even do kind things for their parents on their own without having an assignment. So, and you know what, and let's keep in mind, is when we talk about the students, where do the students learn? Who do the students learn from? Parents. Exactly. So we're the ones, as parents that are setting the example. So they learn, we teach them. So, throughout this journal, well, the teacher said, you know what, to be really, truly, the study that we want to do for sociology has to be random acts of kindness. It has to be done for people you don't know, and it should be done just on the spur of the moment. It shouldn't be planned. And they thought that was going to be really tough. It was going to be really tough. So, interesting, one of the students wrote that he was surprised that acts of kindness, that as he thought about that, as he did acts of kindness, and how he was thinking about doing acts of kindness, more and more opportunities came to him to do it. And he said, at first I thought this was assignment, this is what he wrote in his journal, at first I thought this assignment was going to be really, really hard. But now I'm surprised at how many opportunities come up to me to do kind things. So what happened there? What happened there? That he said he thought it was going to be tough, but now he finds it easy.
Different consciousness.
Different consciousness. He changed his focus for what he was thinking about. When he was thinking, when that was planted in his head, to look for ways to be kind, he changed his consciousness to a kindness consciousness. He was open to that opportunity. And the more he was thinking about that, the more opportunity came to him. Just like our consciousness, whatever in there, we have more coming to us. So he said, he saw lots of ways to do kindness. However, they said, now, and it's interesting, all these different things, all these scenarios and awarenesses is, the kids as they were doing this, and especially the boys, they felt when they were in groups with other students, and the other students saw them doing something kind, they felt that they had to explain why they were doing something kind. And they felt that they had to explain that, really the reason they're doing this is for the class. And the teacher said, no, you can't do that because that, again, takes away from the study. But think about that, that a student has to actually explain why they were doing something kind and saying it was for a class so that they would be accepted by their peers, or their peers wouldn't think they were odd or something wrong with them. In doing that, they were surprised at the different reactions that they had from people as they did their acts of kindness. First of all, they had different reactions as far as somebody was giving flowers on the street, and had different reactions as far as if a man gave a flower to a woman, that was nice and everything, but if a man gave a flower to another man, the reaction wasn't that good. Didn't want to take it, felt uncomfortable about it. Somebody paid for a meal, went in and paid for, like a bagel shop, and paid for a bagel for like 5 people behind him. And then he went and sat down, and he asked the person not to say who did it, but one man in the line was so upset about this, he made the person that sold the bagel tell him who did it. He went over and he said, became like kind of irate and said, I can pay for my own bagel. You don't have to be buying me a bagel. So, what happened there? What happened there was, what happened? He was insulted. It was almost like that victim consciousness or again.
He made something out of it. He made it into something.
He made it into something. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. And, all of these reactions, it kind of showed what consciousness people are in. Victim consciousness, right away, people thinking, somebody wants something from me or, whatever. But it was interesting because most of the students said that once they said and explained, all I wanted to do was do a kind act. Then it turned around. People would say, wow, that's really nice. Thank you. And they were surprised. Go ahead.
My daughter-in-law is in the hospital in Florida. She had eye operation, and she's supposed to lay down, not sit up and stuff. So this other woman who had an eye operation, her husband bought her a lounge chair at the hospital. And when she went home, she gave it to my daughter-in-law, and she says, all I ask is that you pay it forward and then give it to somebody.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that is really neat.
Yeah, yeah, wow. Well, and some that shows, and I always say their reaction didn't tell anything about the person that was giving. It said a lot about the person that was receiving. Go ahead, Bob.
I think also sometimes in our educational institutions, I'd be interested to see what Deb and Chip have to say about this. Kids are taught to color within the lines so that they don't make mistakes or embarrass themselves or lower their grades or do anything like that. So they're taught to stay inside this fairly confined set of rules. And I find it's very difficult to get students to think that things are possible. I've used to have my students in my sales classes. They had to write a list of 250 people that they knew by name. 250 people would recognize them by name and that they would recognize by name and their relationship to them. And these were 19, 20-year-old kids. We don't know 250 people. And I would get sometimes numbers up to 500 or 600.
Once you change your thinking.
But they change their thinking. They stop for a moment thinking in terms of the limitation and started thinking in terms of possibility.
Right, right. And that's the whole thing, is changing our thinking. Isn't that what we're here for? We're here to change our thinking, to change our consciousness. To change our consciousness from the victim. And I'm going to do a message in a couple of weeks on the different sets of consciousness, or from the victim consciousness, up to the God consciousness. But it was interesting too, is the students said, if we were told to do negative deviance, it would have been a lot easier for us to think of things to do, because we see it all the time. They said we see it all the time, so it would be easier to pick something out than for something positive, because we don't see that much. And what does that tell us about society also? What does that tell us about society? There was, what really moved me was the reflection of some of these students, what she wrote from their journals. She has one of the most compelling aspects of this undertaking, aside from illustrating the concept of positive deviance, is its ability to build community in a subtle manner by encouraging kindness among strangers. Several of my students indicated that they had found this assignment to be fun and educational experience. They saw in the assignment a chance to make a difference, a positive impact on their social world, even if in a small way. At the same time, however, some did experience a sense of disappointment in realizing that kindness is not always positively received. And again, what does that tell us about our society? And that's the consciousness that we want to change. They saw the assignment, let's see, at the same, ironically, several students stated that if the assignment had asked them to perform a negative deviant act, it would be a lot easier to think about. Disheartening yet insightful experience was noted by several students. I knew that before this act, I wouldn't have even get a thank you, but I still did it. I think that if our society, everyone in our society is in a what's in it for me aspect, and if there's nothing in it for them, they won't do it. Wow. If more people could realize the rewards of positive deviance, maybe we could expand the moral boundary to include those in normal acts. Wouldn't that be nice? But I'm afraid the trend is going to continue in the opposite direction, with the moral boundary expanding to include negative deviance as a normal behavior. This is from a student. So they're seeing this. They're seeing this, that more and more negative behavior is being accepted, and less positive behavior. This is a sad part of the story. I feel guilty because I knew I might not have done what I did if it were not for this assignment. How sad that that people are often motivated by rewards or power, but mostly money. I guess money and grades are of equal importance to me in college. So he kind of admitted, on his own, he wouldn't have done that. But the rewards were much more after they realized it. The professor added, the reaction that most pleases me is the realization by most students that one person making an effort to do a kind deed may very well draw out kindness from others, and as a consequence, build a stronger, more cohesive community that is less cynical and judgmental. They told stories about, this article told stories about some of the things that kids did. And they told this one about a girl that she went into a coffee shop and bought cups of coffee and went outside the coffee shop and just handed it to people. And as the people would take it, she would go in and buy more and then go out and hand it to people. And, they were really happy for it and excited and stuff. Except she said one time somebody did say, okay, what did you put in it? Again, that victim consciousness. But the more and more she went in, the person selling her the coffee said, what are you doing with all this coffee? And she said, well, I'm giving it to people. I feel like being kind today. I'm giving it to people. And then with that, hearing that, the person that owned the coffee store gave her the coffee to go out and give to people. So her kindness, again, stimulated more people to be kind. And that's the thing, it's a snowball effect. People see other people being kind, pay it forward type thing. It stimulates, it changes society, changes the whole energy in society. As a conclusion, the benefit of the assignment, she says, such an assignment provides an opportunity, while with an incentive as a grade, for students to do things for others, and it makes a lasting impression on them. That is, doing random acts of kindness pushes them to realize the value of kindness anew, and as a result, to incorporate it into their lives in the future. The community building skills they nurture through this assignment seem to live on. As one student wrote, I have gained a lot out of this journal and assignment. I realize a lot about our society and how it perceives deviance. I hate that doing nice things for others for no reason than to make them feel good is considered deviant by so many in our society. It is a shame that the rarity of this type of events have led them to be considered deviant. It also says a lot when the society keeps accepting more and more negative behavior as normal, but does the opposite for positive behavior. But maybe by doing more and more positive behavior, it will have an effect on someone. I know it has on me. Wow. Thinking about that one student changed through his assignment to do acts of kindness. Go ahead, Bob.
Before we get to negative, I want to point out that there have been some studies that show that Americans give away and donate more money to charitable causes than any other society on the planet.
Awesome. And unfortunately, do you know what? And unfortunately, I don't think we know that. Well, why do we see in the papers and stuff like that? And as far as like people that have money and stars and everything, we see a lot of the negative things publicized because that's like really something that people are interested. We don't see the millions that they donate and everything else. And I think if we would see more of that publicized, we would know that.
Bill Gates has already given away more money than any other human being in history.
Yeah. And do people know that? Unfortunately, we have the idea sometimes that people with money are greedy, they're, whatever, instead of realizing that a lot of them, we talked about this at class, a lot of them are very giving. And we don't hear about that, we don't see that. And we need to see that because that would make a difference on a lot of people. I think that would make a difference on a lot of people. It would make a difference on the attitude of financial security, all of that stuff. It would make a difference. It would make a difference on our attitude. Around here, I also found an article that around here there was a school in Upper Marion area middle school in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. King of Prussia was recognized last year by the Character Education Partnership in Washington, D.C. for their effort on empathy and kindness. And they interviewed a teacher in the 7th grade who said that it's all student-driven. And they go in the community, and they find something, and they find a need. And they said they found a soup kitchen that was run by an 89-year-old woman. And they said, okay, what can we do to help? We're a whole school. Here's one 89-year-old woman that's running this soup kitchen. What can we do to help? And they got together and they helped in the soup kitchen. And they got all the supplies that they need, things that the homeless people needed, the sweaters, the gloves, you know, everything like that. But it was student driven. It was them thinking. So, okay, so when talking about this and bringing it all together, what does this all mean? What does this all mean for us? Think about, well, we talked about the acts of kindness. When the kids switch to thinking differently, doing the act or thinking, changing our focus to kindness opens the door to see more of that. What we want to do, we talked about this in board meeting, we actually had our first meeting this week on initiating our Acts of Kindness Week in our community. And what we hope to gain out of that is to have, we want to send letters out to all the different community groups, schools, businesses, get as many people as we can on board, get the newspaper, the radio stations, have everybody think about how they can do acts of kindness that week. So what's that going to do as they're thinking about that?
Pass it on.
Pass it on, but that's going to change the whole focus of how people are thinking. And enough people thinking in that way will change, you know, so there's the energy. Enough people will help everybody else come up. Now, other people will see other people doing kind acts. You know, we want the newspaper to, you know, print stories of how people were affected, stories of what was going on. That'll be a positive things for people to read. Once they read those positive things, it'll lift up their energy. It'll change the whole thing. We've heard too many negative things about Reading right now, you know, being the poorest city, you know, this and that and everything. It's time to change that, you know, and to really bring out the goodness in people. It's there, it's there. All we got to do is change our focus on what we're looking for. I have this story I want to read. I actually have two stories I want to read. This is one out of, I bought a Random Acts of Kindness book. And I have actually a whole bunch of different books on Random Acts of Kindness, because what we do want to do is we want to go out and do speaking and programs for different groups to kind of really explain what it's going to do for the whole community, to get them involved in thinking of acts of kindness. You know, we also want to help them with ideas of what they could do throughout that week. And I know one of the things that we talked about, and I know you did it several years ago, was to collect the teddy bears. Collect teddy bears and then donate them to the police and the fire company so that they would have teddy bears in their trunk in case there's an accident or something happening that, that involved children, that they would have the teddy bears to give to these kids, you know, for comfort, for, you know, just, you know, as a gift. So this was out of the Random Acts of Kindness book, and it says, we had just searched a small village that had been suspected of harboring Viet Cong. We really tore up the place. It wasn't hard to do, but we found nothing. Just up the trail from the village, we were ambushed. I got hit and don't remember anything more until I woke up with a very old Vietnamese woman leaning over me. Before I passed out again, I remembered seeing her in the village that we had just destroyed, and I knew I was going to die. When I woke up again, the whole of my left side had been cleaned and bandaged, and the woman was leaning over me again, offering me a cup of warm tea. As I was drinking the tea and wondering why I was still alive, a helicopter landed nearby to take me back. The woman quietly got up and disappeared down the trail. Talk about an act of kindness. After somebody came and destroyed their village, she was kind enough to forgive, and not only forgive, but to help this young man and really save his life. Something like that comes from a heart of somebody that's not told to do a random act of kindness. It comes from a heart of somebody that's filled with compassion, filled with kindness, and filled with love. In that article about the kids in Marion, the question was, the article was, can we teach empathy to our kids? Can we teach kindness to our kids? And we can. We can. But we have to express that in order to teach that too. And to do that, we have to fill that in our hearts first. And one way of doing that is to consciously do it. Because once we consciously do it, we will see those opportunities come to us. We'll feel that fulfillment. We'll feel that joy. We'll feel that, you know, the wonderful feeling that it feels when you give somebody a flower and they smile and they say thank you. Since I gave flowers today, I wanted to share this story. It's called Flowers on the Bus. We were a very motley crew of people who took the bus every day that summer 33 years ago. During the early morning ride from the suburb, we sat drowsily with our collars up to our ears, a cheerless and tandem bunch. One of the passengers was a small gray-haired man who took the bus to the center for senior citizens every morning. He walked with a stoop and a sad look on his face when he came in. He boarded the bus, sat down alone, and nobody ever paid any attention to him. Then one July morning, he said good morning to the driver and smiled short-sightedly down through the bus before he sat down. The driver nodded guardedly. The rest of us were silent. However, people did notice his smile. The next day, the old man boarded the bus energetically, smiled, and said a loud voice, "And a very good morning to you all." Some of us looked up, amazed, and murmured good morning in reply. The following weeks, we were more alert. Our friend was now dressed in a nice suit and a wide out-to-date tie. Some of us looked up, amazed, and murmured good morning in reply. One morning, he had a bunch of wildflowers in his hand. They were already dangling a little because of the heat. The driver turned around smilingly and asked, "Have you got a girlfriend, Charlie?" We never knew if that was his real name, but he nodded shyly yes. The other passengers whistled and clapped at him. Charlie bowed and waved the flowers before he sat down in his seat. Every morning after that, Charlie always brought a flower. Some of the regular passengers began bringing him flowers for his bouquet. Gently nudged him and said shyly, "Here." Everyone smiled. The man started to jest about it, talk about it each other, and share the newspaper. The summer went, and the autumn was closing in, when one morning Charlie wasn't waiting at his usual stop. When he wasn't there the next day, and the next day after that, we were wondering if he was sick, hopefully, or a holiday someplace. When we came nearer to the Center for Senior Citizens, one of the passengers asked the driver to wait. We all held our breaths when she went out the door. Yes, the staff said, they knew who they were talking about. The elderly gentleman was fine, but he hadn't been coming to the center that week. One of his very close friends had died that weekend. They expected him to be back on Monday. How silent we were the rest of the way to work. The next morning, Charlie was waiting at the stop, stooping a bit more, a little bit more gray, and without a tie. He seemed to have shrank again. Inside the bus, silence was akin to that of a church. Even though no one had talked about it, all those of us who had made such an impression on that summer sat with our eyes filled with tears and a bunch of wildflowers in our hands. You know, I think that's a touching story as far as how that one man made a difference. And, you know, he made a difference to those people because he had found love in his heart. But it's love in our hearts, you know, and he found it through another person. It's us to find that love through God, and through other people, but also to just let that love that's already there be exposed. And when we do that, it won't be an act of deviance to take a flower and just hand it to somebody else. It'll be our normal act. It'll be the act that comes out of us, you know, just not thinking. It'll be an unconscious act of kindness. When we start working on this project, as far as our purposeful acts of kindness, we're going to ask help from the congregation, you know, to form committees on, you know, what can we do that week? You know, how can we put ourselves out there? You know, what kind of acts of kindness can we do? You know, if it's giving flowers, if it's just smiling. Think about the people on the bus when they just mentioned how he smiled and it just lit everybody up. How he said good morning to everybody and it just lit everybody up. What that difference that makes in lives. And we are here for that purpose. We're here to make a difference in people's lives. And it's interesting because, and I didn't print it out, I should have, and one of the things that I was doing research on, it had all the different things that come under acts of kindness. And it was forgiveness, trust. You know, giving is only one aspect of kindness. Because think about forgiving. Forgiving is an act of kindness. It's an act of kindness for us, actually. but it's also an act of kindness to somebody else. So there's a whole bunch of different things. It doesn't have to involve money. Think about how it would feel if you're I know one of the students would put quarters in expired meters. You know, what a difference that makes to somebody that would come out normally and get a ticket and, oh man, now I got a ticket. But it changes them. Lucas.
Like I watch a show called Parking Wars, and it's like people have like no respect for like properties or anything. So like they try like they're going to grocery store, like say they're going groceries, and they try to get like the closest parking spot just for the store. But instead, like people never read the sign, like there's no parking any time or yeah.
That's true, and you know what? That's excellent bringing that up, because you know what? Showing respect is an incredible act of kindness. Showing respect to others, and people that will park in a handicapped parking space just to get close, not thinking about that person that's actually handicapped and needing that parking space. So that's an incredible act of kindness. Excellent. Thank you for sharing that, Lucas. That was perfect. Yeah. So. Again, think about those flowers. A flower that was handed to you this morning. How did that change your day? Right, just that small act changes your day in an incredible way. We laughed about it. We felt the joy about it. You know, think about what we can do today and go out there.
It helped make me feel special. And for me, today coming to church was a little bit of a challenge. And more than a little bit of a challenge. And I was looking to see what I could do to change for when I came into church. And when I saw Terry's smiling face and the flowers, it made me feel special.
Cool. Thanks. Joy.
I heard an interesting quote this week. It said, when the power of love overcomes the love of power, then the world will have peace.
Oh, wow.
That's a really
Very
interesting
good,
quote.
very good.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Wouldn't it be awesome if we can stimulate in our community to have acts of kindness, not be on the deviant side, you know, but rising up more to the normal. Well, how powerful that could be. And that's what we're to be here for. To raise consciousness, not only our own consciousness, we have to start with ourselves. And by doing that, but having that consciousness of looking to see how we can be kind. How can, you know, instead of thinking how we can get there faster, can we let somebody else in? You know, or just those little things that we do. And it's hard to think that way. And I know I have a friend that is very laid back, and you know, when we're in traffic, he'll let all these people in, and I'm thinking, you know, the people in back are gonna get angry at you. And that was my thinking. That's where my consciousness was. His was, you know, let people in. We're not in a hurry. You know, so it's a matter of, you know, I need to work on myself also with that, but to be open on, you know, how can I change? How can I be kind? You know, do my acts lift up? Do they lift up or do they tear down? And that's what we're doing, is building up our community. So I'd like to, were there any other comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, one of the things that Art and I had talked about was, instead of seeing all the negative things on page 1 of the Reading Eagle, we want to see some of these acts of kindness. We want to see that stuff on page 1 instead of who got shot and who robbed who. You know, it's that we want to see that.
And if anybody,
I'm envisioning that. I'm totally envisioning seeing that.
yes, everybody vision that. And also, if anybody has anybody that we can talk to that can get us on the front page, we are going to talk to you know, the paper, to the radio stations and stuff. But wouldn't that be awesome? Lucas, go ahead.
Like, for the handicap thing that you said, I just feel so sad for these handicapped people. Like, people who aren't handicapped, like it seems like they don't care about them. It's like, I just feel sad for them, because like they block like the handicap ramp cars sometimes, so like the people who can't like cross the street for the handicaps. So yeah, I just feel so horrible for them, because
you know what, that's really a good statement, Lucas, because you know, instead of feeling anger for them, you know, for somebody that parks in that space, pray for them. because they don't understand. They don't have that, they don't have it in their hearts the way you do. And you know what we can do is pray for them to find that, to find that in their hearts, that respect, that feeling. That's a very good point.
We can point out too that for that week, one of the acts of kindness we can, like publish or whatever, and have in our list of things to go to people with, is making sure that, that happens, that people assist
Yeah.
others who need it.
Yeah. Showing respect.
Yeah.
Right.
I used to know one of the editors of the Pottstown Mercury, and I was working in town years ago, and I just happened to talk to him. I said, everything is always bad news in the paper. It's always somebody died, a fire, or whatever. I said, just come out with a newspaper, the good news. And he said nobody would buy it.
And
I
that's,
don't know that that's true.
I was told that too. When I went to the grocery store, they were trying to sell subscriptions, but I would like to, argue
good
that point.
newspaper.
I would like to argue that point because you know what? They put out the fish wrapper. When they put out those fish wrappers, they're gone, and it's all good stories and everything. Chicken soup for the soul books. How many? They have chicken soup for the soul for every kind of person there is, every job, every whatever, and they sell like
Not
crazy.
for the vegetarian.
People, that would have to be, let's see, lentil soup for the vegetarian soul. Yeah. But that's it. It's that people want. I do believe people want to be inspired. I do believe that people want to feel good. Go ahead, Bob.
I agree with Dan. I to a certain extent, I don't think that people would buy the Pottstown Mercury if it was bad, if it was good news on the front page.
Yeah, but they're going in bankruptcy now, so maybe selling the bad news isn't working.
Okay.
The Mercury's in trouble.
Okay, but I think they buy it once. I think if there was a special issue, that it was all good news, people would collect them.
Even if they just put the good news on the front page.
Yeah.
Instead of the bad news on the front page.
Yeah, they-
I'd be happy with that.
They publish 365 pages a year. They could put one with only good news on the cover.
Yeah.
Does anybody read the Mercury?
What's that?
What
The
Mercury?
That's what
The
they're talking about.
Mercury, are you talking about the Mercury?
That's what they were talking about.
Yeah.
No, not Pottstown Mercury, the merchandiser I meant.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
sorry. The merchandiser, and I get 2 copies because I'm so close to, like the western part of Reading and also to Myerstown. But the cover of that always has something that people in town or an individual is doing.
Oh, yeah.
And-
Positive?
What?
Positive.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Now inside they have the most wanted criminals, but that's one page. And I think that's a really great. That's a great thing.
Oh.
That's a really great
And
thing.
and our hope also is to stimulate that to start that week, in the hopes that people will continue. It
Yeah.
won't just end that week. That people will feel just like those students. I made a difference. I made a difference in my community. I'm going to continue this. To know that feels so good, doing something good. I'm going to continue this. Go ahead, Lucas.
I actually have another statement about parking. Like, if you get your driver's license and you think you're free and everything, you don't have to go to school anymore, I kind of think you're still in school because you still have to follow the rules.
Very interesting statement, very.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So Lucas, let me ask you this. Do you do things at home that you're not asked to do?
I'll do Italian tan. Those he has to do, but he never.
Well, I
Let me
enjoy
ask-
myself.
You know what? Let me ask you this. Have you ever done anything for your mom, even if it was on Mother's Day or Christmas or something like that, that you weren't asked to do? Do you remember a time when you did do something that you weren't asked to do?
Yeah, I remember I did
So, and
something.
how did that make you feel?
Made me feel good inside, happy.
Made you feel good? Because you saw them were happy,
Yes.
right? It makes them happy, so it makes you feel good,
Yes.
right? And that makes you want to do more, doesn't it?
Mhm.
And besides that, especially if you do it for your mom or your dad, like they said in the thing, usually mom and dads ended up repaying it anyway. They make their favorite meal or something like that. So,
Also for the parking authority, people who get tickets and everything, the parking authority people would point out the signs right there, and it's like people just like throw stuff at the parking authority, like say like, I hate you, parking authority sucks.
No, look, be on the other side of that.
Yeah.
Be a parking authority person. Because I worked for the City of Reading Police Department for 10 years as a tow truck driver, doing the impounds. So I've seen the other side.
Have you ever seen anybody like come up to you and it's like, release my car now?
That's why I wore a gun.
One of the
Oh,
strangest things that ever happened to
Actually,
me.
I wore 3 of them.
One of the strangest things that ever happened to me is I was in town and I parked at a meter, but I saw that there was no bottom to it. There was literally no bottom to it. So I parked there and I came back and I had a ticket.
So I just put the quarter on her fell on the ground.
Yeah, the other thing that I just wanted to say is, people that we consider handicapped, we need to look again, because very, very frequently, these are the people that understand what it's like to have difficulties. And they will go ahead and they will pay it forward without asking anything in return. So I think, you know, we do need to give another look at a joyful giver.
Joy?
I wanted to say on a positive note to end.
Yeah.
In this temporary state that I have had this chaos and now this breaks, I have been pleasantly surprised by the random acts of kindness to myself, starting with my family and then my coworkers, and then just people in general holding doors for me. Are you okay? Can I help? And at first it was almost like I felt like, no, I'm okay. Like I want to do it myself. And I started thinking, no, you know, these people are offering this, and you're not letting them give you the gift of service.
Yeah.
So I was more receiving then, and actually, like it was so nice, you know, to have that. People see me with the crutches. They were like, oh, I know what it was like to be on crutches. That was a pain, and I had the cast, and now, you know, with this lumbering with this. But I really, there are good people out there. And maybe, you know, we don't always see it every day, but there's a lot of people out there that when they see someone and they know that they will come over and help you. And you have to be in the right heart to receive it as well.
Yeah. And so I encourage everyone to go out and start thinking about kindness. Fill your consciousness with kindness, you know, with kind acts. Be open to it, because just like that student wrote, when I was open to it, I saw all that opportunity. And as we begin, we're going to start that movement, because we need that energy starting already to get other people involved in it, and to have other people say, yes, I'll join your movement, you know, for kindness. I'll join your movement to change the consciousness. So I encourage everybody to do that and start thinking and bring back your ideas about things that you did, because that week Unity is going to be doing something different every day. And if it's just smiling, what the difference it made by smiling at everybody, doing that as a conscious act, you know, by saying good morning, you know, by saying have a great day, whatever. You know, bring those ideas back.
When's the week?
It starts on Mother's Day. It starts on Mother's Day, and then we'll run that week. So.
One of the comments